your soul, either one or two. Return to who we are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return to who you are, return to what you are, return. Good morning, everyone. Come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You're welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes. You are welcome here. No matter what you have experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in your future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. You are welcome here at South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. As we gather this morning, let us pause and acknowledge that the ground which we gather on is the ancestral and current home of the Shoshone, Paiute, Goshute, and Ute tribes. With humility for the ways in which we have unwittingly participated in the harms perpetuated in the past and present, we seek now to learn a new way forward. We begin to partner, to ally, and to witness with our Indigenous siblings and friends the bringing forth of a new sacred dream, of a community restored to the fullness, and a world healed to a greater wholeness. Good morning once again. My name is Zach Stickney. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I want to welcome everyone who's gathered here in the sanctuary, as well as all of our friends who have gathered with us virtually. We're so glad you're here. And we especially want to extend a warm welcome to those of you who are here for the first time, or even just a couple of times. We're so glad you're here with us, and we're really looking forward to getting to know you better. And we're so glad you found us as well. We have a couple of announcements this morning. We love this community through the gifts of our time, our talent, and our treasure. And if you would like to deepen your journey with us in some way, we'd love to invite you to join one of our many teams and committees. Currently, we have some openings for our welcoming and pastoral care teams. Please visit the welcoming table after church if you'd like to learn more about those and see how you can get involved. One other quick thing. After the service today, you may have noticed as you were walking in that we have a table in the back with some postcards for you to fill out in support of getting more water to our Great Salt Lake for 2023. The postcards are going to be displayed with fanfare at a press conference on February 16th this coming week in the Utah State Capitol Rotunda, where we and other faith-based communities will share faith-based statements about saving the Great Salt Lake and then deliver those postcards to our legislators. We want to have a massive number of postcards to bring to them to go with our massive level of concern. So please take just a moment to fill out those postcards at some point today. We'd love to have you join us on that. And at this point, I'd like to invite Olya Bertman to make a quick announcement as well.
Thank you so much. So I teach religious exploration classes to your kids. And last Sunday, we practiced focus and concentration, and we colored hearts. And our kids kindly agreed to color those hearts to make a present for our amazing Reverend Laura. So thank you, Reverend Laura, for keeping our community warm and loving. And so we would like to, from SVUUS Youth to give you a present. It's for Reverend Laura, and it says, "We color our hearts with love." Let's say, we love you, Reverend Laura. We love you.
Okay. There we go. No Sunday should be complete without at least a few blips in the beginning of a service. Thank you, Bob, for being a stalwart sound support. I am the Reverend Laura Young. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and it is delightful to be with you on this sunny morning in late February or mid-February, as the case may be. As we prepare to settle into worship, I just want to invite us to take a moment to hold silence for our brothers and sisters and families and friends in Turkey who are recovering from the earthquakes of the last few weeks. We've all been noticing in the papers that the death toll continues to skyrocket. As of this morning, over 33,000 people have lost their lives. So please just hold with me a moment in our hearts, sending our love and our care. And I encourage you to seek out opportunities to support the people of Turkey with the gifts of your treasure, because that is what we can do from this far away, is we can help support those efforts. So please just join me now in a prayer of solidarity and hope. Thank you. This morning, we continue our exploration of the labyrinth path. So our call to worship was written by a poet named Antler, who has received awards for following most closely in the footsteps of Walt Whitman, writing about nature. So here is his poem as we launch into this exploration of what it means to love ourselves and what that journey requires of us. He writes, "I want to lie down in dappled leaf shade, in quivering shadows of quivering leaves, be they oak, be they maple, be they elm or birch. I want to rest in the play of shadows over my reclining form, a massage of shadows, which consoles me in its way, restores for me with whatever restoration flickering shadows of leaves afford. Be they willow or aspen, be they poplar or beech. I want to be caressed by shadows of wavering leaves, soothed off to sleep, feeling the gentle breeze, looking up at the rustling sun-drenched crown, be it basswood, be it chestnut, be it walnut or hickory. After all is said, after all is done, this is the way I would die. A meditation on tree bathing for our morning, as the leaves are just beginning to think about reemerging in our valley. I don't know if you smelled it this week, but I smelled just the beginning of the fuzziness on the tiny little blossoms of the trees. Let us light our chalice in that spirit. Excellent. So, as we light our chalice, if you know the words by heart, please repeat them with me. Otherwise, they're printed in your order of service, either on the QR code or in the paper. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. Let us worship. Okay, now I'm going to call the kids forward. Young and young at heart, please come up. We have a very special story for today. Yep. What is this? It's a box. It's not just any box, though. It's almost a treasure box. It does have stuff inside of it. It's a treasure chest. Actually, you know what we call it here at South Valley? We call it the Wonder Box.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you do. This is called the Wonder Box. And sometimes when maybe, sometimes we get this box out when we have a very special story to tell. So today, who wants to help look inside the box? One person, two people, three people. Okay, so, well, everyone can see what's in the box, right? So once you reach in there and one person grab this, okay? And one person grab this. One person grab that. Okay, and then I'll grab this. Okay. No, but I need this for the story. I can give it to you in a minute, though. Okay, so what do we have in the box here? What do we have here? What's this? A tape dispenser. And what do we have here? Just describe it. A piece of paper, right? And what color is the paper? Blue. And what color paper is your paper? It's yellow, kind of orangey. And then I have a piece of paper where I've taped these two pieces of paper together. All right. So this is a story. Oh, and I have one more thing in my Wonder Box, but it's not in the box. What are these? Pockets. How many people have pockets this morning? How many people out there? The men probably have pockets in this congregation. The women don't. I have to look specifically for pockets. Yeah, so you don't have pockets? You have some pockets? Yeah, some pockets are better than others. Good.
And I also have something else.
Okay, well,
Hiccups.
oh my goodness.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You have 7 pockets? Oh my gosh, you have pocket. I just need to hold this for a little bit. Okay, I will give you this at the end, okay? Okay, so this is a story about a person. 6 pockets. Okay, so in this story, this is a story called 2 Pockets. And it is an old Jewish story about a rabbi who had 2 pockets. And this rabbi was very, very wise. And they had been a rabbi, which is the Jewish word for the minister of the synagogue, right? So they're called the rabbi. And this minister, this rabbi, was very wise. And so he would walk around with his pockets. It's okay. He would walk around in his pockets. And in each pocket, he would have a slip of paper. In one pocket, let's open this up again, yeah? In one pocket, he would have the blue paper. Who would like to read what's on the blue paper for me? Okay, come on. Come here. Where's Celia? Okay, Celia's going to read this for us. Okay, nice and loud. It goes the same.
For you the world
For you the world was made. And who would like to read what's on the other one? Someone? Okay, in the back. Here we go. You are but dust and ashes. So one paper he would carry in his pocket, and it would say, for you the world was made. And in the other pocket, it would say, you are but dust and ashes. And those are kind of like old-fashioned words, right? But what it means, when you have the word, when you have the phrase, for you the world that was made, the reason he had that in his pocket was to remind himself when he was having a bad day. When he was having a bad day or a difficult week, I needed to be reminded that he had inherent worth and dignity, that he was a beloved child of God. He would reach into this pocket and pull out the piece of paper that said, for you, the world was made, right? And it would kind of cheer him up, remind him that, he was important and the work that he was doing, while it might feel stressful, like he could do it and that he could call upon friends to help him. And then when he was maybe feeling a little like he was on his high horse, right? Maybe he had a different kind of stressful week and he was feeling maybe irritated or angry or upset and just feeling like he wanted to get on his soapbox. To remind himself to not be mean, he would read the other one that says, you are but dust and ashes. To remind himself that life is short and that the universe is vast and big, and that we are but a small flicker in the universe. So when he needed to lift up his heart and have encouragement to face difficulty, he would read, for you the world was made. And when he was getting kind of too big for himself and was kind of starting to be mean to other people, he would remind himself, you are but dust and ashes. So this, when we put these together, they can remind us kind of how we be, that we have these two pockets in our lives, right? And that depending on what's needed in our life, we can pull one phrase or another to remind ourselves what we want to do in the world. And there's a special trick that you can do which requires the tape dispenser. Why don't you just bring the tape dispenser and stand next to me with a tape dispenser? So you can take these pieces of paper, and I have one for each of you, and you guys can take them downstairs with you and work on them in your RE classes to put them together. You tape them together like this, and then you can make it into a ring, but instead of a regular ring, you can turn it right at the end, right? So it kind of looks like this. And this is called a Mobius strip. Everyone ever hear that word, Mobius strip? A couple people? It's basically like no matter what direction you read it, you can read it the whole way. So you follow it around, it says, you are but dust and ashes, for you the world was made. You are but dust and ashes, for you the world was made. And you can hang this, or you can wear it like a bracelet. That in case you don't have pockets. All right? So I'm going to invite each of you to take one of these pieces of paper with you, one orange and one blue. And I invite you to sort of make your Mobius strip when you're downstairs today. And I'm going to spend some time up here talking to your parents a little bit more about the Mobius strip and the pockets. And maybe at lunchtime you all can talk to each other about what you think about this Mobius strip. Yes. All right, let's sing our children out this morning.
This community, our church, and its many ministries are only possible by the gifts that each of you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support those efforts, and for this we're very grateful. Your gifts ensure that we can live our values of love and justice not only within these walls, but in the world outside. Part of our ministry at South Valley includes sharing our Sunday worship offerings with a charitable organization that aligns with our principles and values. This month, we're sharing with the other side, whom we've heard about their work a little bit this month. Please join me in reading our offertory words that are printed in your order of service. We are this church. We are its hands, its heart, its voice. Together, we share the wealth of this community and sustain it with our gifts. We will now accept the offering, and for those at home, you're invited to use the giving link in the order of service, and I'd invite the ushers to come forward at this time as well.
Deepest Light by Fritz Kreisler, which translates as Love's Sorrow. And in this piece, it's not necessarily all sad, but it does seem kind of filled with some nostalgia. And as love goes, there's just often kind of just bittersweet feelings to hold. So that's where this comes out of.
Thank you, John. It's like a concert for the heart every day. For all that we have received and all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing for South Valley and for the good work of the Other Side Academy. All gathered here today are now invited to participate in our ritual of joys and sorrows. It's been a few weeks since we've done our ritual. So you're invited to come forward to the altar at the front, to take a stone, to imbue it with whatever is joyful or difficult in your heart, and place it in the water. For those who are gathered at home, I invite you to use the chat box to share your joys and sorrows with one another. And at the close of the ritual, once everyone has an opportunity to put their stone, I will add one additional stone to represent our at-home community and a final stone to represent that which remains unspoken, but still felt in our heart. Please join me now as you are willing and able. Let's extend this glorious silence into a time of meditation, reflection, or prayer. We'll hold 2 minutes of silence this morning. May it be so. Our reading this morning is read by the author herself, Maya Angelou. It's a reading entitled A Brave and Startling Truth. Maya Angelou was an American memoirist, popular poet, and civil rights activist. She published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, several books of poetry, and is credited with a list of plays, movies, and television shows spanning over 50 years. She is truly a remarkable artist, human being, an example for us all.
Excellent. President Clinton, all presidents, all excellencies, all friends. I wrote this piece for every human being on earth. We, this people, on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space, past aloof stars, across the way of indifferent suns, to a destination where all signs tell us it is possible and imperative that we discover a brave and startling truth. And when we come to it, to the day of peacemaking, when we release our fingers from fists of hostility and allow the pure air to cool our palms, when we come to it, when the curtain falls on the minstrel show of hate and faces sooted with scorn are scrubbed clean, when battlefields and coliseum no longer rake our unique and particular sons and daughters up with the bruised and bloody grass to lie in identical plots in foreign lands, when the rapacious storming of the churches, the screaming racket in the temples have ceased, when the pennants are waving gaily, when the banners of the world tremble stoutly in the good, clean breeze, when we come to it, when we let the rifles fall from our shoulders and children dress their dolls in flags of truce, when landmines of death have been removed and the aged may walk into evenings of peace, when the religious ritual is not perfumed by the incense of burning flesh, and childhood dreams are not kicked awake by nightmares of abuse. When we come to it, then we will confess that not the pyramids with their stones set in mysterious perfection, not the Garden of Babylon hanging as eternal beauty in our collective memory, not the Grand Canyon kindled into delicious color by western sunset, nor the Danube flowing its blue soul into Europe, not the sacred peak of Mount Fuji stretching to the rising sun, neither Father Amazon nor Mother Mississippi, who without favor nurture all creatures in the depths and on the shores. These are not the only wonders of the world. When we come to it, we, this people, on this minuscule and kithless globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, the dagger, yet who petition in the dark for tokens of peace. We, this people, on this moat of matter, in whose mouths abide cankerous words which challenge our existence, yet out of those same mouths can come songs of such exquisite sweetness that the heart falters in its labor and the body is quieted into awe. We, this people, on this small and drifting planet, whose hands can strike with such abandon that in a twinkling life is sapped from the living, yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness that the haughty neck is happy to bow and the proud back is glad to bend. Out of such chaos, of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils nor divines. When we come to it, we, this people, on this wayward floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety and without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it.
A number of years ago, a wise woman said to a group of us at the Santa Barbara Church in Unitarian Church in Santa Barbara, "I love all of humanity. It's just the ones I know that I can't stand." And it got that similar response from all of us those many years ago. And it is especially true, isn't it? That we can have this universal love and then really struggle with the people, because people are particular and they are specific and they have their histories and their contexts and their ideas about what is right and wrong and in between, and they're different than ours. I would like to open that up a little bit more, though, today and say, I love all of humanity. I just can't stand myself, right? Are we not the ones that are the hardest to love, the ones that we spend our entire life living with? Ever try to get away from yourself? It's impossible, right? You're stuck inside the skin your whole life. And it can be very, very difficult to befriend, much less to love your own self. And it can be confusing in a culture that prizes selflessness as one of its highest goals, to be giving to others. It can be difficult in that moment to take the time to consider and to cultivate the practices that are self-loving, because that seems to be a directive that would take us away from being selfless. And add that to this context that we live in a deeply capitalistic world that prizes individual achievement and contribution for the purposes of profit. It can be rather confusing to figure out, like, how are we supposed to be? And then, of course, you have the dominant Judeo-Christian tradition in the West with its various philosophies and perspectives that we are not entitled to enjoy our humanity, that the self is somehow suspicious, that is somehow not to be trusted. It's an overemphasis on that dust pocket, right? That you are just but dust and ashes, and you are insignificant, and your contributions perhaps are not that important, and who you are is not that important. But there's been a counter story throughout the millennia to that dust pocket that is the other pocket, the wonder pocket, right? That pocket that says, no, you matter. Your inherent worth and dignity matters. That is the counter story to that. And it is a radical idea in a culture that is so sped up in a capitalistic perspective, to actually slow down and to value yourself not as a consumer, not as an achiever, not as a social media phenomenon or influencer, but just as yourself. So we got to figure out, how do we balance and navigate between the dust pocket and the wonder pocket? I would submit to you this morning that there are at least 4 qualities that are required for this navigation: courage, trust, gentleness, and joy. We're going to start with gentleness. I know it's the third one, but just bear with me. So, gentleness, that quality of approaching ourselves and another with tenderness, with quietude, with deep observation for what is needed and required in that moment, for that touch and that hold and that smile that says it's okay. At the beginning of our lives, we are greeted by the midwife, by the doctor, and by our parents. And ideally, that touch, those first touches, are gentle. They are still. They are quiet. They are embracing. They model for us, as we come into the world, that we are to be treated with inherent worth and dignity, that we did nothing to earn, but is just something that we are imbued with for having been born. It is a sacred and gentle task, parenting and midwifery. And then at the end of our lives, the midwife, the doctor, the chaplain, they return. At the close of our lives, the midwife doula, the death doula, the midwife, the death midwife, the chaplain, they come and teach those of us who are at the close of our lives and who are surrounding the people whose lives are coming to a close, what it is to walk back into that mystery. What it is to, again, be tenderly held and gently journeyed toward those final moments of our living. And when our life has closed, the last person who touches our body is the undertaker, imbued with the most sacred task at the end of life, to care for the body that has cared for us during our aliveness. It is a sacred task at both the beginning and the end. And in between, we have that dash, right? Born 19 something, died 20 something, and there's a dash in between, right? And that dash is the time that we have, to care and nurture and practice that skill of gentleness with ourselves and each other. I think there are two perspectives that are essential to building up that capacity, that muscle for gentleness. The first is an understanding of how the mind works so that we can practice and cultivate skills that will allow us to be gentle with ourselves. Our mind is an amazing, amazing, amazing organic machine. So complicated. One of the ways that we understand that it works, though, is it is a question and answer type of machine. You ask a question and you receive an answer. What color is the sky? It's blue. What is your name? My name is Laura. Why does this terrible, horrible, no good, very bad thing keep happening to me? Well, let's see, which pocket should I pull out? Oh, if you pull out that you are but dust and ashes, your mind will give you a story, an answer that confirms your worst fears. And if you pull out the wonder pocket, it will say something like, could be worse. You're going to make it. It matters what story, it matters what question you ask. And that is where meditation, as we talk about frequently in this community, comes in. Meditation is that practice of learning to listen, to hear the mind, and then to be able to train it to be better. An untrained mind will spend all of its time giving you terrible answers to terrible questions, because you'll spend all your time asking horrible, terrible, no good, very bad questions. But you can train the mind to ask a better question. Instead of asking, why does this terrible, no good, very bad thing happen to me? You might ask, who can help me? How can I get through this? When perhaps has this happened before? And what did I know then that I can use in this situation to respond? Far better questions, and a far different answer will emerge depending on that. The second thing I think is essential to understand is that we are storytellers. That's who we are. We tell stories. We tell stories about our individual lives, about our families, about our friends, about our community, about the world, about history, about the future. And those stories are very important. They're how we make sense of the world. But we need to be careful in our story creation and our story making to be sure that we're including the right types of information. We should question our stories, especially the stories that seem automatic. I'm sure you know some of those from your own life. You understand something that happened in the past, and you've been over it so many times that you're maybe not even sure what actually happened. You just know the story. All of us have that experience from childhood, right? We have a story that's been told to us often, and maybe it happened when we were 4 or 5, and we don't actually remember the story, but it feels like we were there because we were, but we don't actually know what happened because we were only 4. But we know the story that was told to us by our parents. And sometimes as we go further along in life, we discover that that story we were told at 4 or 5 or 6 was maybe missing some essential information. And so we change the story. We requalify the questions, and then our experience changes and we tell a different story. So we need those two skill sets in our life, the ability to gently question and to train our minds to ask better questions, and the courage to question those stories that we are living in. So that's the second quality, courage. Courage to listen to ourselves, to one another, and to the world at large. In 1838, Ralph Waldo Emerson gave a speech to the graduating class of Harvard Divinity School, and his speech is commonly known as the Harvard Divinity School Address, but its original title was Acquaint Thyself First with Deity. He had quite a way with words. This has been a foundational text for me in my formation as a minister and is required reading for all Unitarian Universalist ministers because he makes a very important point in that extremely long 3-hour speech. I'll keep it short though, so that you're not here till 3 o'clock today. He offers that if you want to have a vibrant and alive religious community, one in which people are asking better questions and telling different stories and supporting each other with gentleness, that you must intentionally cultivate that vibrancy. And that a primary way that the minister cultivates that vibrancy and that aliveness in the community is by modeling that for the community. He says that if I'm going to preach on a Sunday morning, I better be darn sure that what I'm saying is authentic, because you will know the difference if it is not. He says that we must pass every sentence we speak in a sermon through the fire of our own experience, because otherwise the church is dead. So the majority of my training as a minister has been not the theology classes and the biblical interpretation and the congregational life and the fundraising. It has been that. It has been the skill and the courage and the willingness to pass everything that is happening through the fire of my own experience, come out the other side, and have something of meaning and worth to say. And to know how to separate what is mine, what is yours, and what is ours. When we did the installation back in October, my good colleague and dear friend, Reverend Monica Dobbins, said there are 5 identities for a minister, and only 4 are available. She said, the minister is a pastor, a preacher, a priest, a prophet, but ought not ever be the plumber. And she surrounded that with the reminder to me and to all of us here that despite those identities of pastor, preacher, priest, and prophet, that I am first and foremost a person. This is echoed in an experience that I had when I was in Zimbabwe, when the doctors Antonio were leading us through South Africa and in Zimbabwe and helping us to understand the complexity of all of these identities that are intersecting in our world and the geopolitical ways in which we have unwittingly participated in harms against one another over time and across place. And he said, we have all of these identities, and our identities are important, but our identities are not our humanity. That we must always put humanity before identity. Our identities are a source of rich storytelling and understanding of self and other and difference, but they are not a replacement or a substitution for our humanity. So I am your pastor, your preacher, your priest, your prophet, sometimes your plumber, but I am always a person, and so are you. As you, as I, as we undertake this journey to find the courage to listen, we must then cultivate the quality of trust. We are on a journey of trust, a journey of discovering who we are now and doing our best to befriend and to love and to partner with ourselves in a place of trust. To come to understand both the possibilities of who we might become and our very real limitations. When I was younger, I used to believe that there were no limits. And now I'm a little older, I understand that limits are actually real. I had a mentor early on in ministry who said to me, Laura, be sure before you become a minister that you understand that it will make you a far better person than you planned on being. And I took that to heart and I had no idea what it meant. I'm still learning. When we undertake this work, we must learn to listen with courage and to trust the truth that emerges, our own truth, the truth of another, and the truth of the world, and to act with gentleness accordingly. And as we do that, as we discern what that truth is inside of us, and as we witness it in another person and in our communities, we are gifted with clarity. With clarity. Our mind becomes more clear, our ability to listen becomes more clear, and our ability to speak the truth, that brave and startling truth, as Maya Angelou says, becomes clearer, brighter, stronger, more important, and louder. And that is what changes people, communities, and the world for the better. We are want to say in this community that we want to bend the arc of justice. That is how we do it, by honing those skills of listening, discerning, truth-telling, courage, so that we can speak. Because speak is what moves us from contemplation to actions that make the world a better place. It's like in our labyrinth that we're exploring this last Friday and last week and next week. You enter into the labyrinth understanding that you have questions. And as you walk the path of the labyrinth, your questions get better and more honed, and you ultimately arrive at the center of the labyrinth, the heart of the labyrinth. Maybe there's an answer there, maybe there's not. But I guarantee you there is joy. And then you wind your way out of the labyrinth and you exit. And you can return to the labyrinth as often as you want, be it a physical practice of finding one in the community and journeying on it, or tracing it with your finger, or just thinking about the labyrinth. You enter into the labyrinth because you want to learn to ask a better question and receive at the heart of the labyrinth a better answer. Never once has someone gotten lost in a labyrinth, because you cannot get lost in a labyrinth. It is not a maze. It always has an opening where you begin. It always has a center where you find something you've been looking for, and it always has an exit. Courage, trust, gentleness, and joy. If we practice these things, we will build the beloved community that we seek, and we will learn to love all of humanity, including the ones we know, and including the one that we know the best. I will leave you with this, a quote from one of my favorite poets, Rainer Maria Rilke, who writes, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers, which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. To live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. May it be so.
Three nine one. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing, calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing. Let's sing it once more. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing, calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
I invite you now to stand with me as you're willing and able in body, mind, or spirit, to join us in our actions together as we extinguish our chalice. If you don't know the words, they're in your order of service, and you're invited to say them out loud with me. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. We hold each other in our hearts until we meet again.
Continuing standing for the benediction. And if you are comfortable, you reach out a hand, hold someone else's hand, or just put your hands over your own heart. And just feel your own heart and know that not only are you welcome here, but all of you is welcome here. We create this beloved community together, day by day, gentle word, gentle action, gentle joy, every day. Go now in peace. Be seated for the postlude and enjoy.
Salud d'amor. Salute to love.
Hi, everybody. I hope everyone is well, and I hope everyone has a great week.